I'm Carl Anthony with AutoSensTV, and we're here at AutoSens Detroit 2019 in the Michigan Science Center. We have the privilege today of speaking with David Fritz, Global Technology Manager of Automotive here at Siemens. Thank you for welcoming us to the booth, David, and how's AutoSens been for you so far?
Well, it's just starting up, but it's really exciting. The energy level is just far beyond what I anticipated. This is wonderful.
And speaking of energy level, you spend a lot of time talking to executives at big car makers and big suppliers, and what drives that? What keeps them up at night? What keeps you up at night here at Siemens? Let's start there.
Well, what keeps the CEOs up at night really depends. If they're an OEM, it could be different if they're a tier 1 or a tier 2 supplier. But most people, when they ask me that question, they mean the OEMs, the GMs, the Fords, the Mercedes, BMWs. And generally what I see is that it's the rate of change coming towards their industry, and handling that rate of change is what concerns them the most. When you see companies like Intel and NVIDIA and Samsung, Qualcomm, companies like that encroaching upon their space, who have technologies that is nothing like what the automotive industry has really seen before, that's very disconcerting. And then when you throw Tesla on top of that and what Tesla's doing, they have a lot to be concerned about, and I think it makes a lot of sense for them to think stronger about how they're going to address the future.
Now, in your mind, David, these car makers and suppliers and OEMs, why would they want to get into sensors and this type of technology? It seems at first glance that that's different than their business model, but in your mind, why are they going that way?
Well, I think there are several reasons. The most important reason probably is they've looked at other industries in the past, and they've seen this kind of transition happen and what the end results were. So they could go back and they could look at, it doesn't matter, inkjet printers or digital TVs or smartphones is the one most often used. And there are many lessons learned there. And those that delay the ability to do a bit more vertical integration, doing their own silicon, having more control over the software, enables things to come that they can address new types of market and look at new ways of generating revenue.
So now going forward, David, the existing chip architectures, the existing technology, is that sufficient for autonomous driving and ADAS technology today or not? Do there need to be changes there?
To this point, the semiconductor technology as it addresses the need in automotive has been very simplistic. Essentially microcontrollers and a few things driving actuators, simple processor to control the sensing of information. And that's no longer sufficient when you start talking about high-end ADAS, consolidated ADAS, let alone autonomous vehicles, level 4 and level 5. So the magnitude of the solution is very different, and this is part of the concern from the automotive industry in that it starts to move itself closer to the technology that's owned by the new encroachers, the Intels, the NVIDIAs, et cetera.
So you have a lot of things going on here at the display, at the booth. Tell us about this, David. Give us an idea of what attendees can expect when they come by the Siemens display.
So interesting, this week we're announcing a program called Pave 360. Pave 360 really is a culmination of many years of work that couldn't actually exist without the acquisitions that Siemens has made. So Siemens has made about 11 billion euros worth of acquisitions in the last 10 years. And virtually all those acquisitions all play together to produce what we call Pave 360. To understand Pave 360, just think about it like this. Imagine you had a very accurate virtual representation of a car driving itself in a virtual world that can be controlled by engineers. You can control the scenarios, you can control everything from whether or not there's a cow stepping out in the road and convert that into a cyclist, put different clothes on them. All those things can happen automatically and use technology that will sweep through all those possibilities, just as they've been doing in semiconductor for the last couple of decades. So bringing that technology forward and applying it to automotive level is key technology to Pave 360.
So David, when it comes to Pave 360, and then considering that and the overall strategy of Siemens, how does Pave 360 fit into the long-term strategy here at Siemens?
Right, so So Siemens has this concept of a digital twin, and then digital threads stringing together different digital twins of different fidelity. So PAVE 360 is really a concrete example of applying that technology across multiple products and bringing it together to solve much, much larger problems that otherwise could be solved with just single point solutions.
And in your mind, David, talking about solving problems, from your vantage point, what are some of the biggest challenges facing autonomous driving today?
I think for the industry as a whole, understanding that like other industries that have been disrupted before it, there's going to be a consolidation of the functionality. So it seems very clear that the center of that functionality is going to be the high-end ADAS, the AV compute systems that have massive computational capability. Over time, that's actually going to commoditize. So you're going to have these companies that are producing these large systems on chip start to incorporate other functionalities that would normally be in other ECUs. I mean, it happened in smartphones. If you crack open your iPhone, and please don't do it, okay. But trust me, you crack it open and there's one large chip in there and a few small ones. Well, a decade ago, that would have been a dozen large chips and more. So that consolidation is actually going to change who the major players are. And if you want to control your own destiny as a supplier or an OEM, you need to play a role in that. And that starts now.
David, it seems as we talk here, Siemens has quietly become a technology company and a major competitor here. So just give us your thoughts on that. I know you've probably answered this in so many ways, but just the evolution of the technology here is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think, when I first joined Mentor and it was acquired by Siemens a couple of years ago, I was very excited about that. The whole concept of quality German engineering and things like that, and that really applies here. So just a quick anecdote, my son actually hurt his finger a couple of months ago, and I got a phone call to run to the emergency room by my wife, so I run to the emergency room, and what do I see in there? I see Siemens MRI, I see Siemens X-ray, I see Siemens everywhere, and I thought, if what you care about in an automobile is safety and good quality engineering and verification and validation and everything that goes with that, Siemens would be a good choice. So I'm really excited about Siemens investing in this technology and really seeing the future of it and using its clout, its contacts, its history to actually help us promote PAVE 360 into the industry.
And if I was in your shoes, that'd have made me feel really good going into the ER, seeing the Siemens equipment there, and yeah.
Absolutely.
David, as we wrap up here, any final things to add as far as the technology you're showcasing here, big news coming down the pipe for you, anything at all that you want to add as we wrap up here?
Well, I think keep an eye out for the announcement that's coming. It'll be out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. The other thing is, this is just not slideware, it's not just talk. So we have something we call Center for Practical Autonomy. It's in Novi, here close to Detroit. And in there we actually have an installation of PAVE 360 where you can actually come in, bring your engineers. We can change the virtual SoC structure, we can change the number of cores, we can change cache sizes, we can do all of those really neat things to prove that it's actually real, get empirical measurements and see how it can actually help OEMs, Tier 1s and Tier 2s get their job done, particularly when it comes to ADAS and autonomous vehicles.
David, I want to thank you for being here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And from all of us at AutoSens TV, have a wonderful show. We've been talking with David Fritz from Siemens, one of over 450 delegates here at AutoSens Detroit 2019. For more AutoSens and for more content, like and subscribe.